Hey everyone. So this is the first quiet moment I've had in weeks, and coincidentally, I had a huge download come through this morning, and I just felt called to share this message for the month of February. That's what I'm feeling it for. I'm really feeling like it's really asking us to step up into these levels of consciousness that we know exist and we know that we're able to embody, but it's just those little things that keep tugging us down into those frequencies that were the patterns and all that. And we're ready to face those. We're ready. We're ready. We've come along and we've cycled around with these same patterns for so long that we're ready to make a different decision with our own free will on how we're going to move forward and what different choices we're going to make, because the same choices aren't going to create a different experience. And we are creator beings. We came here to create, and we did come here for the contrast, but that was so that we could come to these realizations. So then we're able to transmute all this energy that keeps being passed down through the DNA. So if we can really integrate, which means we take that information, we take that knowledge, we take that awareness, and we do something with it. We actually use it in our physical life. We get out of this space of being so ungrounded because we just want to consume information all the time. We just want to live in our heads and looking at all these timelines constantly instead of being present in the one that we're creating. It's good to have information, but what are we going to do with it? Because a lot of us talk all this game and say all this stuff about healing, about what we're going to do to change the world. But it's not that there's this pressure to go do that. But there is this calling to make a different choice in terms of the old patterns that keep holding us back from naturally and organically coming into this timeline that is all those things that you keep talking. Then you can start walking on this timeline. That's what really wants to unfold for us, but we're still being held down by these old patterns, and it's so unnecessary. And that just kind of flows into what this message is, and I'm going to get right into it. I did some automatic writing like I normally do. That's how things usually flow in. I get the thought patterns, and the thought patterns come through me into writing form through me, my avatar. So sometimes, like when people think about channeling, I just want to talk about channeling sometimes because I channel in different ways than other people channel. Everybody channels information differently. We're all channeling information all the time. It's can we tap into these higher frequencies so the information that we're channeling is serving our highest good and has us on the trajectory of the highest possible timeline, so we can manifest and create that. So anyways, about channeling, for me, when the information comes in, it comes in as a thought form, and then it is then, I just sit down with usually my phone and I just start typing, and whatever comes through, comes through. I'm not thinking about it. It's just coming through me. And then I end up writing it on a piece of paper so I can read it out to you guys. But that's just one form of channeling. You can sit and receive information. I do this all the time too. When I make my videos, I'll receive the information as I'm speaking. I don't even remember half of the stuff I say, and I'll go back and watch the video and be like, oh, like it'll be things that I never even thought before, but it just comes through because that's the time that it needs to, because it's going to reach people. But that's how I initially started doing videos. I'm actually super introverted. I don't really talk to people at all. My phone barely ever rings for text or calls or anything like that. I like to be alone. I highly value my alone time. So if I'm going to have a friend or be in a relationship, like the time that I spend with them has to be very quality, because I love the time I spend with myself. So you have to be able to trump that, you know what I mean? So, for me to start this YouTube channel, that's the point I'm trying to make, was really weird. It was really out of like the ordinary. I was that kid in college and in high school who gets so nervous to do a presentation, and my face would turn red and I'd be like, I had this shy vibe, but if I got close to people, I was an extrovert. A lot of people embody that. So when I came and I felt called to share all these things that, all these messages that I was receiving. It was such a strong call. It was like I had to just start doing it. I barely even like watched YouTube at that time because I was still having my kids and I was married and all that kind of stuff. I was busy being a mom, doing life. So when I felt called to do these messages, it was like a serious calling. Like it was like tugging at me. Like I didn't have, felt like I didn't have a choice because I just wanted to so badly. That's how you know like you're on the right track, because you're just doing it organically. It doesn't feel forced. Like I have to start a business so I can, make money to provide. And it's like, if you have that faith and that knowingness that you will be provided for, all you have to follow is what feels good, because you will be provided for, because you will. Like when they say you have to be in that energy of like already having it or knowing that you're gonna, that knowingness, it's because you have to believe it to receive it. You have to get into that frequency to receive. So anyways, they actually tap into a little bit of that in the message too. So I'm just going to hop right in. But yeah, guys, like we have such a great opportunity right now to like really, really push forward on the timeline and in the direction that we've been wanting to. But we have to be brave enough and have enough courage to face those patterns that keep coming around. All right, so February energy of 2023. You're sitting alone out in nature and something beautiful happens. A shooting star. It takes you by surprise, filling your body with goosebumps that are telling you it means something special. Some will cherish and feel that moment. Those who have the eyes to see, ears to hear, openness to feel. Others will see that star and say it doesn't matter because no one else saw it with me. Only a witness or shared experience can be valuable. It only seems this way when we base our value on outside validation. Fulfillment is here for you. It is here for you. It is you that must choose. Who is doing the choosing? The aspect of you who operates out of the need for acceptance by this matrix program, or the version of you who knows fulfillment is here in all moments? Love is here in all moments. There are levels to heart expansion. You open up a little more and a little more, gradually over time, experiencing deeper states of love. It can always get better, and you know this because it always has. Even if you're always been in lower frequency spaces, you've seen and felt yourself shift into different frequencies based off of the emotions you're emitting. This is why we must understand the importance of being present, valuing our moments, not throwing them away to our projected emotions and trauma that attempt to control us. Awareness of these shadows we hold will allow us to make more conscious choices in the moments where we might normally project trauma or pain. Awareness says, I see my pain arise and allow it to be, without needing to create a story around why it is there or project my pain onto others through blame or mistreatment. Awareness says I honor and respect those around me who see through a different lens than me, who experience different pain than me. Awareness says I take nothing personally because I know that everyone is on their own healing journey, and whenever I am projected on, that's someone else giving me their pain because they're too afraid to deal with it themselves. Instead of absorbing that pain they attempt to project onto me, I send all of that pain to the light to be healed and to be alchemized. I give this person a gift of forgiveness, and I give myself the gift of grace. I embody peace, love, and acceptance in all moments. This is my intention from here on out. I will give myself forgiveness and grace as well. I am not perfect. I am human to experience contrast and expansion. With this understanding and grace, I allow more peace into my experience. You can never get it wrong. You will simply continually face it until you overcome. What is available to you through awareness is a blissful experience in this human form. This is truly an inside job. So much more quiet time, not necessarily alone, but more observing, more listening, more speaking with intention, making the words you choose to say mean something. The more we add pure intention and value to ourselves, the more we will impact those around us in beautiful ways. It will just naturally start occurring as you blossom into a higher version of yourself, a more aware version of yourself, a more loving, joyful, and creative version of yourself. A side of you that deep down you knew was there, and you just weren't open enough to receive that creative spark yet. This programmed world stuffed you into a box, and you didn't ask to be in. Now you're out of that box. You can breathe, you can explore, you can create, and you can love on levels that you never thought were possible. So I thought that was like an amazing message, because it's also brought in the humanness. It's like, yeah, like we do have to face these patterns, and we do have to overcome them, and we do have to come into that observer space in any given moment in order to be aware of how we're reacting and projecting based off of our own trauma. But at the same time, we're human. We are human, and we're not perfect, and we have to give ourselves that grace too, to make mistakes and not beat ourselves up, because sometimes we beat ourselves down into lower frequencies because we made a mistake, and then we make it worse by doing that, instead of like coming into that awareness of what it is, and that, yeah, you can make a different decision next time it comes around. Because best believe it's going to come around again. Because that's just how it works. Like, that is one thing that I've learned along the way. It's very consistent, is that if you do not face it, it's going to come back around. And even when you do face it, it's going to keep coming around until you feel like there's nothing to face, because I've alchemized it completely, healed it completely. And now my default response to this trauma, this trigger, is just peace. It's just, oh, look at that. Like, I don't act that way anymore. Like, I don't project that way anymore, because I know that's my pain. Why would I want to put it on someone else? You know? And so it's such a beautiful message that came through, because it's allowing grace, but it's also allowing that forgiveness. It's like when people are projecting onto you, like, just recognize what that is. Recognize what that means. Recognize that you don't have to take it personally, because it's so much more about them than it'll ever be about you. And when you're projecting onto people and you want to blame them for the way you feel, it's so much more about you than it will ever be about them, no matter what they did to you, because you always have a choice on how and what level of consciousness you want to perceive a situation from. If you're blaming, if you're in victim mode, if you're in any of those spaces, that's a lower space of consciousness. No matter how justified you are, no matter how justified your ego wants to tell you are, victim mode is ego. Blame is ego. Something very well horrible could have happened to you. But how can you come into that space of understanding maybe the person who abused you, why they did? Probably because they were abused, right? And stop asking for love from people who aren't into the capacity to give that love to you. Stop blaming people for not being able to love you the way you want to be loved. Recognize that if they can't, it's because they can't get there with you on that frequency. And also ask yourself, how much of that love are you giving to yourself? Right? Because most of the time, if we're looking for love in all the wrong places, which is anywhere that's outside of ourselves, it's not gonna ever fulfill you in that way that you want it to. You'll get a quick hit, right? And then you're back into your lonely space if that's not around you anymore. If you're not, you could put this in any way. It's not just with people. If you're not buying the next thing, if you're not looking like, worried about the way you appear to others, there's so many ways that this can manifest in the external in a person's life. It just depends on what things that you struggle with and how that you project them. And then you coming into this recognition that you do. Like, a lot of people, they don't recognize it. None of us recognize our shit until we recognize it. And then once you recognize it, then you have that opportunity to do something about it. But most people just don't see it. Or they say, that's just my personality. And that's a tough one for people who are like, attached to their personality type, I guess. They feel, their ego feels this sense of validation from being this negative trait. like I'm a bad bitch or whatever. That doesn't even sound right coming out of my mouth because it's like not me, you know, I'm not gonna like refer to myself in that way because I know how powerful words are and you put that out into the universe. But if you think about the words and what they mean and intention, everything, all of that in the message that spirit was bringing through, like it's like when spirit was saying, we got to be more quiet. We have to be more quiet. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be alone, but we have to like get into this observer space where we're doing more listening and more observing than we are speaking. And then when we do go to speak, we have such a pure intention. We have such intention behind what we say, period. Because every single word you're putting out into the universe, it carries an energy, it carries a frequency. So intention is everything. And I just started realizing how beautiful just like rituals that you create between you and spirit in your life, whether it has to be like this affirmation you say, this prayer you say before you receive, you know, your food, or before, you know, you even like take a shower, this intention to just wash anything that doesn't serve my highest good, just wash that down the drain, spirit. Just say that one sentence before you take a shower, and that intention is powerful. And then you start understanding how energy works and how everything in this, you know, on this earth and in this human experience, that is energy is all of it. And so it's so important to be able to learn how to utilize that in our lives, how to have intention with all of our words. And you know how hard that is, every single word that comes out of your mouth? That means like you're not ever really projecting, because you have to consciously think about what you say, how it impacts another. Genuine consideration. And because all humans, because we come in here to experience this contrast, we all have narcissistic tendencies. We're all kind of like, because your ego is the safety mechanism that is here to protect you, right? So we all have that. So how do we step outside of that and really become intentional and really become present in this moment and get out of our thoughts in the future and in the past and all these other timelines that we're thinking about in our head, what we could have said to somebody, what we want to say to somebody. It's like, what are you saying right now? Like, where are you at right now? Are you even on this earth? Or are you on some other like crazy timeline in your head? Being intentional means being grounded, being able to integrate the knowledge, the information, everything that you receive in terms of from your higher self, and more awareness about your patterns and everything like that. Being able to take that information, take that knowledge that you've gathered, and create a better person in yourself. Create a better life for yourself. Create a better life for your kids, for your family, for everybody around you, for your partner. Being able to step out when your partner's projecting their pain and understand that that has nothing to do with you and that they're trying to heal it. And how can you hold that space? And are they trying to grow? Is this a healthy relationship for me? Or is this a toxic dynamic? A toxic dynamic looks like somebody who two people are in a relationship, one person's trying to grow and the other person doesn't want to look at their own stuff. They don't want to grow. They don't want to heal. That's when you create that space. That's when you move on to a different timeline, right? Because you have a little self-respect. There's so many directions we can go with this energy, but it all comes down to being present, being able to be that observer, bringing in more quiet into your life, and not by yourself, but in every moment, listening more, being intentional about the way we speak. And that's what coming through for February. So it's really about checking yourself before you wreck yourself, because you don't want to keep going down these timelines where you're repeating patterns, because doesn't that shit get old? Having to keep going through the same trauma and pain over and over and over again. Keep blaming the same person. A lot of people, like, that's their choice when the trauma comes up. Blame. Victim. I'm a victim. I'm going to blame. Oh, those blame, like all those reasons to blame, so justifiable, right? But really, like, mastery is not blame. Mastery is totally love and acceptance for all, even if those people supposedly are like projecting onto you. That's just their pain, and you get to choose what you want to do with it. Absorb it, take it personally, or see them from like detach yourself from the situation, be the observer, and be like, oh, I'm gonna allow that person to feel. I'm not gonna make it worse for them. I'm gonna allow them to feel and process their pain in their own way. Maybe they'll make the same old decision, maybe not. And if they're choosing to change, maybe that is someone I want to like roll with. I ain't gonna judge them because they went through some shit. I go through stuff too. Would I want them to judge me? So it's like you really gotta choose like who in your life and who comes into your experience, if they're serious about growth, if they're serious about awareness, if they're serious about this journey and process that we're on. That way you don't have to outgrow relationships and you can actually grow with somebody. So that's just like another little thing to keep in mind. If you really struggle and you're in this place, you're not sure if you should cut some soul tie or some cord or something, that is a way to gauge it. Like, are they serious about their growth? Do they consider your feelings? Are they like apologetic when they go through their trauma and might project on you? Are they making a change? Are they doing the same old shit over and over again? Like, and what about you? Are you doing that? You know, and it's really this deep sense of accountability. Eating some humble pie, apologizing sometimes, you know, like there is a lot that goes into this healing process. And if we just like coming to that space of love, acceptance, and just being that observer, that is what is here for February right now and going forward, and always freaking has been. But that's what Spirit's bringing you for today. So, but all right, guys, I love you so much. And I really hope that this message touched some people, because honestly, it touched me. Like, I need it too. These messages come through. I need them too. And it really helped me recognize some things in the way I can approach loving others too, and myself. And the more I love myself, the more I'm then capable of expanding in love and able to love others at that capacity as well. So have an amazing rest of your week, day. I don't know when I get on here, but yeah, love you guys.